nobody was allowed to know anything more than they absolutely needed to know. So there was this plan hatched to dig these tunnels, but perhaps only 4 or 5 people knew about it. Somebody was asked, if that person over there takes his cap off and puts it back on again, I would like you to turn your cap around and turn it the other way. That's your job. And he didn't know what that was for. But the point was that that was a signal to somebody else to scratch their armpit. And then that was a signal for somebody else to go into the camp and say, there's a guard coming. Nobody knew why they were scratching their armpits or turning their caps around, but it was a vital piece of the jigsaw. And Roger Bushell knew how to get communication channels going so that if anybody was caught, they just didn't know anything.
With his counter-spy network in place, Bushell turns his attention to the dig.
The soil around the prison was quite sandy, which is easy to excavate, but it's very difficult to stabilize. Just think about sand running through your fingers. They came up with this ingenious scheme of removing slats from the beds in the prison, and they would smuggle these boards over to the room where they were doing the tunnel, and then they would use the boards to support the ground.
How are you going to join them together? Where are you going to get hammer and nails from? Oh, we can't use hammer and nails because that'll be too noisy. The POWs needed bedboards to fit perfectly along the tunnel, and they needed a technique that would enable these boards to be assembled in terrible conditions, in the dark or the near darkness. It had to be an easy system to use. And what they did was they took the bedboards like this one, and, well, this is not a bedboard, it's just a little replica. They would cut these little bits out of the ends, and then what they could do is they could make hundreds of these bedboards, all looking identically the same. They fit beautifully together, like kind of a tongue and groove system. They had to be really careful to make sure they didn't knock anything out of place, because as soon as you knock it out of place, you get a collapse, and they had lots of collapses.
The tunnel was about 350 feet long, but the shafts needed to be supported as well, so you're talking about 400 feet or so of opening.
It means lots and lots of bedboards, thousands of bedboards we're talking about here that would have to be harvested.
The beds aren't the only creature comforts the prisoners sacrificed for the escape plan.
They were allowed to play music in their huts. Inside the gramophone record player was a spring. It's metal, and when you unwind it, it's really hard and really strong. And what you could do is you could stretch this out, and then with a file, cut teeth into it. That's your saw.
With their main tool set figured out, now they just have to dig, and dig, and dig.